Hello again, here today with a bit of a follow-up on my previous Ark Royal review from a couple days ago. We're on the map Trident, and unfortunately it's a standard battle, not my preferred form, but we are fortunate enough to get an on-tier fight this time, so hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate the Ark Royal to the best of her capabilities, given we're nice and top tier. Now we're against a Furious, and looking at the matchmaking, there's a Texas to be annoyed at, and maybe a Nicholas if he's running defensive fire, but otherwise, this matchmaking is perfectly not that difficult. So this should be a good one. Now I don't really like using the rocket planes that much, but they are, well, they serve their role adequately as scouts. The Blackburn Skua, 4 rockets per plane, 2 on each wing. And there's 4 DDs in the game, so it is good to take a look around at the beginning of the match first. So DD spawns are typically mirrored, so there should be 1 here, 2 in the center, and 1 on the edge. Now I'm pretty thick, so I'm gonna get myself turned around. A bit of a quick map key. Noticed I wasn't engaged, so I took a bit of damage. Omaha's popping a fighter, so I'm not going to be able to loiter for very long. Give the T-22 an adequate amount of lead, and I do score 4 out of 12 rocket hits. I'm gonna fly out of the Omaha's fighter zone. T-22 has his AA off, or I'm just well outside of the range, one of the two. I'm aiming with the mini-map to try and get my lead right, because I'm going to be blind. Just like so. So I aim lead a bit too much due to my blindness. That's quite fine. We'll make one more pass. And then we'll come back with the probably cluster bomblets. Especially if we can set a fire. No dice there, but we do get the Potofoyski lit up for us. So I'll relaunch with the level bombers. Now last time when we were top tier, I did go after a fair bit of battleships and thin-skinned cruisers with the level bombers, but really they're at their best versus destroyers. If you can get your hands on them. The lead's pretty easy and there's a ton of cluster bomblets. So they drop quite a bit faster than the standard level bomber found on the Furious. Alright, so this one's going to be a bit blind, but he's sitting right still and my allies have kind of skimmed him for me. So we do score 6 hits for what must have been a couple of thousand of damage. Which, well, relatively insubstantial. Where is that Omaha? Okay. Got a bit confused because I flew by without being able to actually see him. Oof, someone popped defensive fire for me. So the Omaha, just like a destroyer, well, it's actually basically a destroyer with a citadel to me. He's also quite a bit slower. Got a nice lineup. And 6 bomblets for 2.4k, so that's how much I hit the Potofoyski for. Well, just to keep the cooldowns refreshing, I'm gonna relaunch with my Swordfish torpedo bombers. This is of course the 9-plane squadron. Now there's quite a concentration of battleships there, so that's not ideal. The Potofoyski's not great to go after with DDs, or with the torpedo bombers either. Although, that's not to say that these are incapable of hitting DDs. They're definitely quite capable of lining up hits if you do it properly. Alright, I was gonna go after that isolated Königsberg, but he's dead. So that leaves me this cluster essentially in terms of viable targets. So I'm gonna go for the head of the pack in order to stay outside of the range of the Texas's AA Aura. Now the Texas has a bit of a reputation as a bit of an AA boat at tier 5, and she is, but her AA Aura is limited to her mid and short range guns. To spot the Potofoyski, note that he's too close to the island for me to engage him with the torpedo bombers, however, so I'm just gonna have to tank his AA for a little bit since I chose to fly this path. I'm gonna pop this speed boost just to make sure closing the range isn't as painful. I'm gonna divert for the Fuso, I think. Moving in a way that's a little easier. I do lose quite a few planes on the way in. I'm in the Texas's AA Aura. Not a perfect drop on to the Fuso, but note how once I'm outside of the short range aura, the AA does get quite a bit less intense. Now as I close into the short range aura of the Hexus again, you'll note that the AA intensifies quite a bit. Enough to trim off one extra plane, but not enough to kill my squadrons. Note how my planes tend to be surviving for the most part, due to the nature of low tier AA. Now my team is down 2 destroyers. They have every destroyer still, unfortunately. Mine have bitten the dust, shall we say. Let's hopefully see if that Omaha can dispatch the Hatsuharu. He's close by to a Kamikaze. Kamikaze doesn't have great guns, but guns are still guns, especially when you're fighting against a destroyer. I'm hiding my carrier in the typical positions on this map because I have really poor detection. 12.6 kilometers is honestly enormous. My guided does scratch our T-22. The Omaha does unfortunately catch a torpedo from the Hatsu. I'm gonna see if I can't catch up to him. Now my slow planes are gonna struggle in comparison to some other carriers to catch him. That's quite alright. Move outside of the AA zone. The Tatsuharu's dual purpose AA engages me. For a destroyer, his AA is actually somewhat respectable. Especially a low tier destroyer. He's reversing. He is indeed reversing. So just lead him by a little bit since he's reversing. He does re-accelerate, but nice casual 2k chunk, which is honestly a lot better than you can expect from the Furious level bombers against a destroyer. The Podavoisky does temporarily get lit up. Now note, the allied carrier has dropped a second fighter bubble for him, but we're just going to ram our way through. Lead him by about 1 square. And we just splash him for another 3,000, or 1,800, sorry. Given the Podavoisky is pretty lit up, I am gonna engage him with the rocket planes. Now he's in the Hatsuharu's smoke, or it might actually be my Kamikaze's smoke, I'm not quite sure. Furious is engaging my Congo. Team is folding a little bit. Don't have too much in the ways of damage because I only engaged battleships once and the strike wasn't that successful. I hit 3 torpedoes, but my guide does seem to be doing a good job at slowing down the enemy push. Looking for the Podavoisky, and he kindly shows himself on the edge of the smoke screen. Now I could blind fire him here, but I think I'm actually just gonna wait for him. Smoke should be fading soon, based on that last puff which just faded in front of me. Do I want to hit the Podavoisky? I'm gonna hit the Podavoisky, even though the Hatsuharu also showed up and is probably a higher value target. This guy's a bit closer to me, and is therefore a bit more of a threat to me. Oof, a bit unlucky. The rockets gonna have to come back for him. I'm spotted right now by the Nicholas, so I'm gonna have to turn my boat around. Reorient myself. That may cost me the kill on the Podavoisky unless he fires again. Fire again, please. You know you want to. And I did frag him, thanks to a decent approximation based on where he was. I'm gonna recall in order to defend myself. Carrier's making a big turn. I'm making a circle because of the way in which planes exit the carrier. I'm in a full turn right now, so I should hopefully be able to dissuade him from torping me too much. Guns I can deal with. Torpedoes on the other hand, not so much. He's turning out for me, so I'm going to lead him, like so, and allow him to splash into the bomb drop zone. I do splash him for 2,000. The full turn means I should survive the torpedo strike. I'll take maybe 1 or 2, based on the current location of my carrier. Now based on his guns, he's right about here. I might be a bit off to the side. Didn't quite manage to hit him. Let's fine. I'll come around, holding down on the boost bar to tighten up my aim. The Congo will spot him if he exits. But remember, he has an extra tube. Aircraft carrier detected means he's out. I'm gonna start arming now in order to get the early reticle. Lead him by a square. And he gets dispatched by the Congo. Now with that said, Hatsu lights up beside my kamikaze. He's gonna dispatch my kamikaze, more than likely. Kill him! I don't have the right aircraft armament for him, as my carrier dives back to the other side. I'm gonna keep him lit for my team. Oh, okay, he does die. Good. That means I'm gonna defend my Congo, since he's under attack by the Furious. No, actually that's the last strike. And with that, we should be fairly safe to clean up the game. It's just battleships now, so that's just food for me. I'm gonna get as close as I dare to the battlefield in order to shorten my flight times. We have managed to survive the game of attrition, of chewing up enemy DDs. Britannia is maneuvering. Staying outside of the AA range. Looks like I'll be able to make one dive before he enters that AA bubble the Furious left for him. Furious does get lit up, so I'm gonna light him up for my battleships in case they can harass him. The slow speed of the swordfish again coming into play. On this side, I'm not inside of the AA aura, so I can engage quite easily. So first salvo does a large amount of damage and does score twin floods, prompting a damage control. So I'm going to take my time with the slow planes to circle, make sure I get a nice accurate drop, and more importantly, I'm trying to time out the damage control. 15-second damage control on the Britannia. These should beach here, so just ditch those right onto him. He does beach, break his rudder, but not his life. Pretty slow turn inside the fighter aura, but it does time out because of the slow nature of my planes. And because I have converging torpedoes on these British swordfish, I can just do that. And we score permanent flooding and score 5 hits. Now my teammates have dispatched the rest of the enemy team. As I said before, my guide did do a pretty good job in holding them off, as you can see. 4 kills to his name. He's flooding. He's mine? Yes, he's mine. Perfect. Oh, that just leaves the Furious now. Very, very gentle game this time. Much more relaxing, you'll note, than when you're bottom tier against tier 8s. Damage rolls are lower, but that does reflect the fact that we spent a lot of time going after more lightly armored targets with less hit points. And in addition, when you are top tier, you do tend to get slightly lower damage scores, as is the nature of being top tier. The ships just have less health, so there's less to farm. And if you don't degenerately farm battleship hit points, then you do end up with lower damage scores. Now I'm dropping that fighter there to spot for my teammates. I'm intending to dive in to the Furious here, which I unfortunately cannot penetrate with my level bombers, so these swordfish are going to be extremely valuable to me. I do get fighter locked, but I'm gonna just lead up. So my level bombers only have 19mm of penetration. Remember, they're good against light targets. Unfortunately, the Furious actually has a 21mm flight deck armor. He does turn away from my torpedo spread and manages to dodge the majority of them. He is, however, still lit for the Emile Bertin to the north. Just some simple cleanup at this point. Padding the numbers, shall we say. Have a full torpedo bomber squadron. One of his defense fighters did engage me. He's been using quite a few fighters this match, so I would imagine he doesn't have too many actual self-dropped patrol fighters left for this engagement. But he still will always have the self-defense fighter consumable. At this tier, it launches 3 patrol fighters, I believe, so that it can intercept 3 aircraft. Unfortunately for him, I'm an Ark Royal with an enormous squadron of 9 planes, unlike most of my competitors, and since on average, the fighter plane just intercepts 1 attack plane per fighter. Okay, it turns out it's 4. It means he can intercept 4 out of 9 of my aircraft, which means I always get at least 1 strike off if I get to bring a full squadron like so. Now his AA is going to trim some of that advantage. I'm going to use my engine boost to get us in there, hopefully avoid this flak, using my immunity zone, so even though it looked kind of like I flew right into it, his fighter has engaged me. That's alright. Not a great angle, but good enough for government work, and it would have finished him if the Emil Bertin didn't catch him with the shells. So nice, relaxed, top tier game. You'll note the extreme experience. That's just because we have the 200% first win premium time and the Ark Royal boost still. We've only played 8 games in this. Not to say that I'm inexperienced in it though, because I do just play carriers fairly extensively. The only unique quirk really is the level bombers, so I'm not as experienced with the level bombers as I could be, so if you do go over some other gameplay, you may see other people do things with the level bombers that I don't think to do. Nevertheless, 74,000 damage, 13 torpedoes, 22 cluster bomblet hits, sorry about that message there, 1 aircraft shot down by the hull, 6 incapacitations, usually rudder or engine if you hit battleships. If you hit smaller targets like destroyers, it could be a variety of things. 2 kills, 4 fires, 4 floods, 1 secondary hit. That was when the Nicholas was engaging us. 7 spotting ribbons, 12 rockets, and 2 planes intercepted by fighter. Team score-wise, we do manage to claw our way to the top with an unimpressive 1496, just short of 1500. It is top of the team, but it is a top tier game, so 5 and 6 matchmaking, so unless you do a lot of bullying, maybe kill an entire team that's not battleship kills or kills you just kind of finished off, which is what it looks like for the Gaeta, you're not going to score that high when you're in 5-6 matchmaking. Detailed report wise, most of my damage of course comes from the Britannia at the very end, about half of it in fact, and then the rest is distributed pretty evenly amongst light targets. So I did try to harass any destroyer I could get my hands on, 4k on the Potovoisky, 4k on the Hatsuharu, 3k on the Nicholas, 3k on the T-22, 2.5k on the Omaha, so all these light targets that the cluster bomblets can deal good damage to. But the majority of our damage, again, as I've mentioned before, comes from Torpedo Alpha. When you find a target suitable for the torpedoes, whether this is a cruiser or a battleship, this is where the majority of your damage is going to be coming from. It's definitely the Ark Royal's best squadron, and it's what you should be focusing on in terms of perfecting your play if you want to get 80% of your performance out of her, more or less. And then, after that, once you got the hang of that to a sufficient level, you want to get a hang of the cluster bomblets. So that's what I'm working on now. So let's just say this 70k performance is perhaps only 80% of her potential. But I have a lot of carrier experience behind me to back it, so it's definitely not as hard as it could be. This is, of course, the stacked flags on the Ark Royal, just so we can get a better look. I do like the designer's table, but she's not great for showing off the actual ship due to the lighting, so let's use ocean for a bit. So here you have it, the Ark Royal, flying some spring skies. Just because I didn't get to it last time, let's just pop open her default camouflage. So this is her default stock camouflage that she comes with. It's a nice realistic camouflage. It's flat gray with a dark gray hull, and her flight deck is also dark gray. And if you have unlocked the alternate color scheme through the British mission, you can swap it down to a greenish gray, and a dark blue hull, and a light gray flight deck. So not the most handsome perma camo ever, but I actually happen to like plain camos. In this case, I prefer her default camo. Anyhow, there you have it. A bit of a follow-up game on the Ark Royal when we're top tier, and as you can see, she's quite the beast. Hope you enjoy. Cheers.